All right, you enjoyed the first film from his and Ben Affleck's recently formed company, Artists Equity Air, which we talked about quite a bit on our show back in 2023. Now comes a second film, The Instigators, in select theaters this Friday, and it premieres globally on Apple TV Plus August 9th. It's awesome. He's Matt Damon here on The Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Matt?
Great. How you doing, Rich?
Good to see you, brother. How's it going?
It's good. It's really good. Yeah, we got this new movie. It's a lot of fun. That's kind of what we set out to do, and the timing seems right with all the craziness in the world. We're just putting out a piece of fun that hopefully will make a lot of people laugh.
Yeah, you and Casey Affleck, and I don't know if that was part of it, but there and also an outstanding cast that frequently just shows up out of nowhere. There's an Ocean's vibe to this movie, Matt. I'll be honest with you. Were you going for that sort of thing here?
Well, it's like Ocean's. Like neither Casey nor my character would ever make it into the Ocean's crew, and that's kind of the fun of the movie. It's like the D team trying to pull off a heist. So they're kind of knuckleheads, and my character's doing it out of desperation. He's trying to settle a debt. He's never committed a crime. He doesn't know what he's doing. And Casey's like a career criminal, kind of petty criminal who's just really ultimately just wants to have a friend. And so they're kind of the last guys you'd want to try to pull off a heist. And it goes about as well as you would think.
Yes, and the conversation frequently in the middle of all the madness and the craziness does vibe like that too, where he just wants a friend. He just wants to chit chat, and you kind of don't know what to say or what to do because you're not frequently your character in these positions. It's fun. It really is, Matt, you know?
Thanks. Yeah. Well, that's what we were going for. And we have a third kind of lead character who's my therapist who ends up coming along just in an attempt to try to save our lives or so we don't do anything stupid or even more stupid. And that's Hong Chow, who's amazing. But then Casey's character obviously is really excited about this idea of a therapist because he's basically just realizes that all he's ever wanted was a therapist, was somebody that he can talk to. And so there's a lot of fun with the dynamic between Casey and Hong's characters.
Yeah, that photograph, that first one that we just popped up there, he's wearing a Dartmouth sweatshirt. That one made me laugh out loud when his character put on a Dartmouth sweatshirt, Matt.
Yeah, he gets shot, and so she gives him her sweatshirt because her character went to Dartmouth. So it's pretty incongruous that Casey's character is running around with this Dartmouth sweatshirt for the whole movie.
So how did these ideas come to you guys? I know Casey co-wrote this, but how do you decide what you want to do, you and Ben and Casey and all together? How does that happen?
Yeah, good question. It's just really about, I mean, we're always looking for ways to work together. We love each other. We grew up together. We have a lot of fun together. But in this case, Casey wrote this script with Chuck McLean, who's another Boston guy. And he's actually sent it. He gave up on sending it to me and he sent it to my wife who read it. And Lucy then, said, "This is great. You guys should do this." And so, I read it. I loved it. I love the characters. I loved the whole vibe of the movie. It seemed like a lot of fun, and so we contacted Doug Liman, who directed The Bourne Identity. I worked with him 20-something years ago, but all of his movies like Swingers and Go and Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Edge of Tomorrow, they're all really great and all have this really wonderful tone. And this movie has kind of a very unique tone. It's a big comedy, like an action comedy, and so he was our first choice, and he signed up. And then, as you alluded to, we got this incredible cast, and that's really down to Doug. I mean, everybody wants to work with him. So all of these incredible actors showed up for like one or two scenes and just elevated everything. And it's a fun ride, ultimately. And that's what we were going for.
Yeah, man, I'll be honest. Every single time the cast members you're referring to, and I'll just throw some names out here, Michael Stolberg, Alfred Molina, Ving Rhames, just to name three. Every single time when they showed up on the screen, I burst out into a smile. You know what I mean? Like I'm like psyched. Like, okay, it's great to see this guy. Have you ever worked with Ving Rhames before, Matt?
Yes. In fact, I worked with Ving. The first kind of lead role I got in 1990 in a cable TV movie. Ving was in that movie, and that was the first time I met him and hung out with him in Atlanta in like 1990, so 34 years ago. I've been a massive fan of his. He's so great. You know, I mean, he's like that full package. You know, he's Juilliard trained and all of that. You know, I mean, he's a classically trained actor, but he's just great, and he makes everything better that he's in. And that's how we felt about all these people who showed up: Stuhlbarg, Molina, and Ving. It's like it really was kind of an embarrassment of riches for us. And if you felt that smile, like when they came on screen, like imagine, you know, when they showed up for work, we were just beaming because we just knew the movie was gonna make the movie. It was gonna elevate the whole thing. It was gonna make it a lot more fun.
Well, and again, I know, Matt Damon, this is going to be a surprise to some, and I don't know. Obviously, I'll be spoiling it, but I'm not going to say when he shows up in the movie. But you want to talk about elevating a cast and an actor. Rob Gronkowski fills the bill, Matt.
Yes, so he elevates everything,
I would say. And so I ask you, where did the casting of Gronk in the Instigators come from, Matt?
Well, we just had the idea, and he shows up for a moment. He's Ron Perlman plays a corrupt Boston mayor who's going for re-election, and so Gronk is one of his boosters on election night, firing up the crowd. And we just had the idea. You know, we were there. We just took a shot. We were like, Gronk, are you around? Do you want to come do this? And he was generous enough to come do it. I heard subsequently he was upset with the size of his role, and we were like, dude, you only ever had one line. Like, how do you think it was going to get bigger? You were only there for one night. But I think he's an impact player. You know, he's used to having a massive impact. And he still did.
He is an impact player. He's a 5-tool guy who usually only uses one tool. You know what I mean? And he was fun to just see pop up. I literally had to pause it. And again, if people see it in theaters this Friday, they won't have the benefit. I did have to pause it and rack it back. I'm like, that was Gronk, was it not?
We put him in the trailer. He's in the trailer of the movie. If you go watch the trailer online, you can see the big.
Fantastic. Did you see the Brady Roast, Matt? Did you see that?
I did. Yeah. I saw it. In fact, I did an opening voiceover for him. I couldn't go to the roast because I had a conflict, but I did the voiceover at the beginning just because I wanted to be a part of it.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was the one who kind of with the mic to start the whole thing off, Michael Buffer style. So I did not hear the voiceover at the start, but I certainly heard every last damn syllable after that live. And what did you think? What does Matt Damon think watching the Brady Roast sitting at home on Netflix there, Matt?
The roasting culture, it's as fun as it is to watch. I never understand why people do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear a bunch of my friends get up and like rip me apart in public, but it was a lot of fun. Kevin was unbelievable, as always. And all the comedians I thought were great, but it's kind of a blue room, it touches on stuff that you're like, oof. It can get a little cringy, but I had a lot of fun with it. It's also like, guys, those football, like, what do you think? You put those guys together and give them free tequila.
Well, that moment right there, a lot of people thought Belichick didn't want to drink with Kraft because of, the fact that they've split ways professionally a few months ago. But I was told that look on Belichick's face was because he's a wine drinker and he had just done a shot of tequila with Gronk 5 minutes before and he's like, really? I don't want another shot of tequila. Like, that was that moment right there.
That's great. That's great. It's always, we all think in terms of conspiracies and deeper meanings, and sometimes it's just the guy didn't want another shot of tequila.
That's it. That's Belichick just like, I don't want another shot of tequila. That's really what it was. But as a Patriot fan and as a guy sitting, you were just talking about, the personal stuff and how that's kind of wild to hear that. The football stuff, like the stuff that Bledsoe was saying and the stuff that Edelman was saying and Gronk was saying about Belichick, who's sitting right there. I kind of felt like I was in a Patriots therapy session. Matt,
Right.
during the
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, I think it's complicated. I think Belichick, I mean, he's a historically incredible coach. And anytime you see those guys who win like that, it is always, I mean, you think about Michael Jordan or Tommy, like there is a part of their character that is probably technically antisocial ultimately, like in the wider general population, but
right.
it works really well in like highly competitive environments. And so I think it's just hard to, it's taxing to play for somebody like that. But if all those players always talk about like their love for him and their gratitude for having been in his system, and as hard as it was, I mean, Tom said that so many times about, this is something that we did together, and it required buy-in from every single person in the organization. And when you see that, that's really the pinnacle of professional sports, I would think.
Yeah. And if you saw the Brady retirement ceremony in Gillette a few weeks later, I kind of think like the roast cleared the air in advance of that and made it a much more joyous, less awkward, less intense, more celebratory affair. It's kind of crazy how that worked, but that's the way it looked like to me.
It's funny you say it's like a therapy session, because ultimately I think that's the purpose it served, right? It's like it kind of cleansed the palate, and these guys actually got to go and look back on what they did and celebrate what they did together and celebrate Tom. And yeah, it was awesome if you're a Patriots fan.
I think he's going to be great as a broadcaster too, Matt. What do you think the TV's going to be like?
I do too. I mean, I just think of, Romo, the year that he came right off of the field and into the booth, and just their knowledge is so. I remember a call Romo made where he just goes, it was the end of a Patriots game and we were winning by 3 scores, and the other team was driving and they scored, and Romo started laughing and he just goes, "Oh, that's so gross." And I'm like, what's he going to say? And he goes, Belichick is messing with the analytics. He's never in that package on the goal line. He just put that package in because it's a meaningless score, and he wants to screw up the other guy's analytics when they're looking at what packages they use in goal line situations. And like that level of, kind of understanding of the game and the ways that, the moves people are putting on each other, that's, and Tom understands every single defense. I mean, he's just played against everything for decades. And so I can't wait to hear him. I mean, I think he's going to be just great.
Yeah, I'm with you, especially since, too, like how many broadcasters will be able to speak from the personal knowledge of being a late draft choice, an overlooked draft choice, somebody who had to wait till the starter was injured to start, made the most of his opportunity, got instant fame, won multiple Super Bowls, then went 10 years without winning one, then did it again, then blew out his knee in between. I could go on, and then switched teams, then won again, then played deeper into their 40s. Like, he could sit there and pretty much break down any situation there is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What it's like to be a free agent? I mean, all of it.
Yeah. That's right. From a first person perspective, and he knows what all of those things feel like. And he's just, I think for anybody who knows him, I mean, him off the field, he is the nicest guy. And that's what, people have been rooting against him. The majority of people who are going to be watching him were rooting against him for years. They're going to see that too. And it's impossible not to love that guy once you spend a little time with him. He's just a great person, but he's so knowledgeable that I think I can't wait I'm going to watch whatever games he's broadcasting because it's going to be fun.
A few minutes left with Matt Damon. The Instigators premiering globally on Apple TV August 9th. You could see it in select theaters this very Friday. Fun movie with him and Casey Affleck and a great cast right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Did you take some cuts in Fenway Park?
Oh,
recently?
God, it was so brutal. Yeah, I hadn't swung a bat in 20 years. And
what happened? Where was it? This weekend when the Yankees were in town? Is this what?
Yeah, they let Casey and I go in and take a couple cuts. I got like 10 swings, but I couldn't see the ball. I couldn't believe how bad my eyesight was. It was like I couldn't pick it up. And I never really got the barrel. I got one to the warning track, but I didn't really hit it. the last time I was there and did that was when I was in my 30s, and I put a couple off the wall. But man, it was sad. I got to get back to the cages.
Did I see, was that Alex Cora kind of railbirding you there? Is that what?
Yeah. Cora was there, and we were hanging out watching the team take BP, and we were talking to Alex and some of the guys, and then they just say, hey, jump in and get in and take a few cuts. But sadly, Casey got a hold of one. He took one to kind of deep left center, but no, we were hanging our heads after that.
Oh my gosh. So you didn't go in the cage in advance? You just went cold and just with no glasses, no contacts, no nothing? You just went in there?
No, that's why I wish I brought my glasses to watch the game, because we were going to be up in a box.
Right.
And they were up in the box, and I was like, oh man. But what was I mean, it's like, I got to take the shot. I got a chance to take a couple cuts. So
okay.
I had a couple solid base hits back up the middle, Rich.
Oh, up there. You went with the pitch, Matt? Is that what you're saying?
That's it. Just drive it right back towards the mound.
Just hit it where it goes. So before I let you go, I'm sure, again, you and Ben must get scripts, ideas. Do anybody come to you with sequel ideas at all? Anybody come to you with like, hey, you should do this with the characters, Goodwill Hunting, anything like that? People constantly knocking on your door saying you should do that?
No, actually, well, Ben just did The Accountant 2, and we did that through our company with Warner Brothers, but through our company. And the one that we've been talking about for years, and we're trying to, and I just saw Edward Norton a few weeks ago. Like, all of us want to do it is a second Rounders movie, because so much has happened in that poker world in the last 25 years. It would be fun to catch up with those guys. But there's a whole, you got to figure out who the chain of title and who owns it, and who, and everybody's got their hand in the pot. And so we got to figure out a way to make a deal that makes sense for everybody, particularly the people who are going to make the movie, because that's at Artist Equity. That's who we care about, are the cast and crew. And so we're trying to figure that out, because I think we'd all like to do that. So
do you have a general sense of what it would be about or look like once you can clear the business deck here, Matt? Well, it's funny, we talked about it, I want to say 10 or 15 years ago, and Brian and David, who, wrote the Rounders and then went on to do Billions. And, very successful guys, they had a whole movie ready to go then, but now there's been a whole nother kind of change in the poker world since then. So I haven't talked to them about what it would be, but I know they'd come. I mean, what they had 10 years ago, I thought was fantastic. And I'm sure they've, they can augment and kind of roll with the times and update it to where we are today and make something great. Yeah, we have many drops that we do on this program, Matt, to use a radio term, because we're being simulcast on the radio, that whenever there's an argument over whether somebody's worth the money or not, we use this drop. Pay that man his money. That's it right there. We use it all the time, man. That's great. So we're ready. We're perfect. Ready. All right. And I'm not the only one, man. I think a lot of people would love to see a Rounders too. Yeah, I think that's one of those movies that, it came out and didn't do well when it came out. It kind of bombed, and then it got discovered by people later. So when that happens, people feel a sense of ownership. Like, that's my movie. Like I was a champion of that movie, even when no one else was. And so it feels like there's a lot of goodwill behind it, but we got to figure out if we can make it happen. Brother, and in the meantime, again, I know your character in The Instigators is as far from Jason Bourne as possibly can be, but you in the chair of a car and Doug Liman at the controls of a director's seat, and there's a bona fide, real deal, big time car chase in The Instigators. That's as close as we'll get to, I guess, a Bourne sequel at this point in time. Matt? Yeah, the fun for Doug and me was that Bourne, always knows where he's going. He's always got a plan. He's hyper aggressive, and the character I play in this movie has never been in a car chase and doesn't know what he's doing at all. So it was a new way to shoot a car chase for us, but it's got all those bells and whistles and crashes and all that fun stuff. But it's a novice behind the wheel. Did you clear the decks though? Did you clear the actual roadways? Because that looks like you're using the actual real roadways in Boston for this, Matt.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the access they gave us was amazing. Like that, we go down Storrow Drive, we take over the footbridge onto the Esplanade. Like, to anybody who's ever been to Boston, cars aren't allowed to go there, and so they were great letting us do that. And so we did have to shut down some roads briefly, but we had this awesome second unit team and amazing stunt drivers, and it went off without a hitch.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a New Yorker in me, Matt, saying this, but I've seen people drive that way on Storrow Drive regularly, sir. I've seen that sort of behavior. Come on now.
We're kind of known for that.
Yes, right. Hey, Matt, great catching up with you. Always love chit-chatting with you. If you're ever in LA, obviously this chair is here, and I love seeing you, and I love seeing what you want to put on the screen. Air, again, was outstanding. The Instigators is a lot of fun, and congrats on that.
Awesome. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it.
Right back at you, brother. Matt Damon, The Instigators, on Apple TV Plus on August 9th. However, check it out in the theater this Friday. It's a lot of fun with Casey Affleck right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.